Well, hello, this is Mike Siver, back with the Mike Siver Show, and we're discussing a book that I've written on several different chapters on life skills and how to come to an understanding about sometimes on how we behave the way we behave. Tonight we're going to talk about performance change. And there's a quote before the chapter that says, children should not have to sacrifice so you can have the life you want. You make sacrifices so your children can have the life they deserve. And I don't know how many people I've worked with in the past, and same with you, Ernest, and children and families, where dad seems to think, and we just talked about that just now.
Just a moment ago.
Old
yeah.
school stuff.
Right.
Dad seems to think because he's the breadwinner, that without them they wouldn't exist, that he's the most important part of the family. And it destroys a lot of families.
It really does.
And destroys a lot of children. And we're trying to bring that attention to families in a different aspect, which is why we're starting a nonprofit organization called No Fences. Earnest is on it, I'm on it. We're trying to get that going to help people understand the fences that they build around themselves or that get built around them by other people.
And that quote is kind of important to me. I know both sides of that. When I was growing up, my mother used to always say that we as children didn't ever owe her anything. She always owed us because she brought us into this world.
Right.
And she used to say, no one picks their parents, so never deal with children like when you get in a relationship and the person has children. She said never if you accept that person, you accept their children.
Right.
Okay? But she used to always say if we picked our parents, we'd all be rich, if not white.
Well, we gotta be careful where we go on here sometimes, but
No, but mama
yeah, I
used
know
to
what you
say that
mean,
all the
yeah.
time, and
Yep.
she would say, it's a parent's responsibility, and that's what that quote was,
Yep.
to take care of your children. Now I got a couple of children I took care of well, and one just graduated from college, and I got one that I took care of so well that I'm holding her back now.
Right.
I'm a hindrance to where she needs to go.
We teach people how to treat us.
Right.
And that works, and we've talked about that in the past too. We
Right.
might even brush on that again today. But performance change is at any time we're performing in life behaviors, how we act in public, whether it be male or female, and excuse me, and they're maybe inappropriate, or they're not up to the age level that we're supposed to be at, or they're just getting us in trouble or getting everybody else in trouble. So how do you change a behavior? Now, there's a couple of different ways, but the main ways that have always worked is a theory called inspiration or desperation. Now, if I'm going to offer you $1 million not to cuss anymore in front of people, you'll work very hard not to cuss.
You're exactly right.
Very hard not to cuss. That's inspiration. Or as we call it in layman's terms, that's pleasure. You're getting a positive reward for changing your behavior.
Right.
Now, if that doesn't work, I can kick you out of the house. Or if you decide you want to do something illegal and the judge is giving you a couple opportunities, which is should inspire you,
A nudge from the judge.
and learn from the judge that, okay, well, sir, if you keep doing this again, we're going to give you a break this time. Don't do it again, you'll be okay. But if that doesn't teach you, then there comes the desperation part, which is pain.
Right.
All right, sir, you chose not to take the lesson I was giving you. I'm not going to lock you up for 10 years.
It's in the programs we both have been associated with.
Right.
It says when the pain gets of change, when the pain of not changing gets worse than the pain to change,
Yeah.
you will.
You will change.
And it's, what you wrote, it's in there. I was mentioning that I spoke on some stuff last night, and it was exactly what's in that book. Some people need to change, but do not until it creates a lot of pain in their life.
Yep.
And then they let go. But it also can be done if what you've written and said many a time, the children are taught that from the beginning. They learn how to do it.
There's about 2.5 little paragraphs here. I'm going to read them.
Okay.
And then, because we got lots to talk about on this particular change thing. There are only two things that influence a person's performance. They are called inspiration and desperation, or desperation, or as we more commonly call them, pain or pleasure. By learning this knowledge, we can start to think ahead and or believe and understand that pain, depression, will follow if we keep continuing on our path. The motivation, inspiration to change a person's performance and maintaining the pleasure we are now enjoying by eliminating or reducing the pain we are in at the time. To do this, we become motivated to stop the pain and to start getting some pleasure out of life. Now, if the only motivation you've got to change is to stop the pain, well, then that's motivation on one side to stop the desperation on the other side, or the pain on it. And the trouble is, this is not explained to people. This is not, parents, they do it, but they don't if you don't stop slamming the door, I'm going to smack you, to the little kids. Well, that's just a pain and pleasure thing. You want to come in the house, don't slam the door, you won't get smacked.
Right.
That's pleasure. If you want to slam the door, you're going to get smacked. We know all that, and parents know it works.
Right.
Up to a point, depending on how far you're going. But to understand how it works and understand why it works, and sit down and explain to the child, this is a result of your behavior. Remember we talked about consequences versus punishment? I don't like to use the word punishment. Results are consequences of actions.
Okay.
So if you can explain to the child, if you slam the door, the consequences are going to be you're going to get smacked.
I have a similar situation. My grandson, he got a bike. Someone gave him another bike because he broke the one we had gotten him, and it needed the chain to be tightened. Well, 8, 9, 10 times, I've showed him how to tighten up a chain. I've had him work with me around the house. So 2 weeks ago, a little more than 2 weeks ago, they gave him the bike. He said the chain need to be changed. I said, okay. I said, go up and get my toolbox. I want you to get the channel locks, get the crescent wrench, and get the socket that fits that. Next day he came, he said, I couldn't fix it. I said, you know how to fix it. The third day, he was riding that bike around.
Yep.
Because he's so used to me doing it, when he realized I wasn't going to do it, he wanted to ride that bike.
Yep.
So the way you're going to ride the bike is to fix it yourself. You know how.
It's consequences for actions, and we have to have enough fortitude as adults to say, when are we going to stop enabling people? When are we going to stop enabling our children? When are we going to hold them accountable? I had a friend, and I laughed like this, I wish I'd have thought of it, who bought his son, when he got his driver's license, a secondhand car. It was a nice car, nothing wrong with it. But the son didn't know he bought it, and when he bought it in the garage before his son could see it.
Okay.
Jacked it up, put it on 4 jack stands, took the wheels off, took the brakes off,
I remember you told me.
took everything off the sides, off the axles, and then called his son and said, okay, here's your present for getting your driver's license. You want to drive it, put the wheels back on, put the brakes back on, put the shoes back on, put everything back on, put the tires on, and you can drive it. Son was mad.
Right.
I don't know how to do that. Oh, he said, oh, by the way, here's the book.
Right. Learn how to do
Here's the book. You're old enough to pass a test, to study to get your driver's license. You can read the book. It took him about a month.
Okay.
But he got with some friends, and they got him over there, and they put it together, and they got it going, and they drove it back and forth up the driveway. It was fine. He had his car. But not many parents will do that.
Right.
Now, that kid, not only did he learn he has to work to get something, he now can fix his brakes.
Right.
He knows how to take off the bearings. He knows how to take off the calipers. He knows what to do.
Right. How to fix it himself.
And there were so many lessons taught in that one exercise that we don't do that as parents anymore. I wish I could do it over again with my kids.
Yeah, again, my grandson, we have the blinds, Venetian blinds.
Right.
They had little squares that you put up there to fit into the blind. Well, one of them broke in the bathroom and the blind kept falling down. He said, well, people can see if the blind down. I said, well, go downstairs and find one and take it off. We just changed 4 blinds downstairs. There's some more of them somewhere. So he went downstairs, he unscrewed one, he brought it back upstairs and put it on the wall so that he could hang the blinds back up because he wanted the blinds put up. So I'm teaching him. See, his mother's the child I was talking about that I've enabled. She's
Right.
33 years old, and she's been living with me for 20 years of her life, okay, and the most of it in her adult life. And her children live with me. So I'm teaching them to be not like their mother as much and to be independent and do this stuff on their own.
Well, that's where we get back to inspiration or desperation or pain or pleasure. We as adults and as parents don't sometimes think far enough ahead. But if I allow this to continue on, this child's going to have some pain in the future. How do I get him to think about the actions, the results of his actions, and to stop the pain? And that gets back from rudeness to dress, to how you carry yourself, to how you respect or not respect people. And, you know, I've heard parents so many times say, well, I'm having trouble with my son at home, but when he goes to the neighbors say, I have such a good son. And I said, do you understand why that is? Because it's in almost every family is the same.
Right.
Mine was the same too. Well, no, I don't understand why he's good for him and he's not good for me. The key answer is, he doesn't punish your son. You
Right.
do. He's not the authority figure over you, over your son.
Right.
You are. He does not want to get kicked out of that house.
Right.
Because he goes to play with his friend over there.
Yeah.
So he's going to behave and follow the rule of the child that's there at the time.
Right. So that he can continue to visit him and hang out.
So he can keep going over there. It's a place for him to go. You're the authority figure. Your son will only do what you tell him to do when you tell him to do it at the time. Over there, he volunteers.
Right.
They love him. And you wonder why. You have to understand, being the authority figure is not the end of the world. It's not the baddest thing in the world either. Depends on how you do it. Depends on what you're looking for. But children need to understand that there are consequences for actions. There's pain and pleasure. You go to work every day, as we talked about before. When you come home, every week you get a paycheck. That's pleasure. You've earned that place. You've earned that paycheck. That's going to create pleasure. That's the consequences of your actions are positive.
Right.
How do we get this thought process into children and make it work on a regular basis? And that's what our goal is with No Fences, is to try and bring this kind of thought processes into the families.
Right.
And that's what you're starting with the youth programs that you're running with No Fences. And I'm doing, working with parenting, with trying to help families unite and communicate with each other. And we have a bunch of exercises that we do to help that, explain that. But we need to understand that sometimes we have to make a performance change in our children. And they're not going to do it willingly.
Right.
Because you have taught them how to treat you, which is another chapter that we've done in the book. And we both have had some experiences with that.
I got a 6-year-old granddaughter, and about 3 months ago, I told her it was her job to wipe off the kitchen table, get all the dishes off after dinner. And she says, well, I don't like doing my chore. I said, but you like asking me for money, don't you? You like to go to the store with
We've
me.
got about 30 seconds left. So.
And she said, yes, I do. Well, that's why you do a chore.
And one thing, I understand that, and we sit down, explain it to them, and break it down, then we can have a much more peaceful life at home.
Yes, we can.
All right.